Does Donald Trump really need an introduction? 45th President of the United States, former host of the reality TV show The Apprentice, billionaire real estate tycoon, and more. Trump is a great example of what can be achieved when you have a lot of money. But where did all that money come from? And how exactly does he spend it? We're about to find out. Before we go down the billionaire rabbit hole, make sure to like this video and subscribe to The Richest for more insight into the lives of the world's richest. Now, this is how Donald Trump spends his billions. The American dream that Donald Trump is living now is all thanks to immigration. And yes, Trump's grandfather's name was really Friedrich Trumpf before it was anglicized. With no high school diploma and with no money to his name, Friedrich somehow still became successful after opening a few restaurants, bars, and hotels in Canada during the Gold Rush era. After amassing a fortune of roughly $600,000, Friedrich moved back to New York and began to invest in real estate. So while Donald Trump's massive wealth wasn't self-made, his grandfather's wealth certainly was. Donald also has his father, Fred Trump, to thank for his billions. Fred is responsible for building up a property empire in several New York City boroughs that included 27,000 apartments and row houses. He also built apartments in Pennsylvania and Virginia for servicemen in World War II and constructed one of the first supermarkets in the US. He did way more than just that. But in short, Fred was a very smart businessman that knew how to make money in the American market. While Trump's version of how he made his riches does include his father, it doesn't actually tell the whole truth. According to Donald, he was given a small loan from his father of $1 million, which he managed to turn into a multi-billion-dollar empire. When Donald was just 3 years old, Fred's company was already making him $200,000 a year. The New York Times even uncovered that the president was a millionaire by the time he was 8. After graduating from college, Donald was receiving roughly $1 million a year from Fred. So in reality, Trump received way more than just a small loan of $1 million from his father. Financial records actually show that he received at least $413 million from his father's real estate prowess, and that his father lent him at least another $140 million. All that Trump has today is thanks to his father. At first, Trump was going to follow in his father's footsteps, constructing low and middle-income housing in New York City. But what he forgot to mention was that Fred was receiving millions of dollars from a government program to fund his ventures. By the time Trump was ready to play the same game, the government had canceled the program, but luckily, his father loaned him money to get started in the real estate business. He eventually inherited 1/4 of his father's company, and he used the $800 million that he received to invest in Manhattan. This was a smart move according to Business Insider, as average land prices in Manhattan have gone up over 6,000% between 1973 and today. Trump started to shift from building residential units to building glitzy projects, like the famous Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. He even went on to open a casino company in Atlantic City. While that sounds like it could have been very profitable, Trump's 3 casinos didn't do as well as he'd like for us to believe. Believe it or not, but Trump has actually faced many failures and setbacks throughout his life. In fact, he's filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for his business failings 6 times. Thankfully, real estate worked out for him in the end, and the Trump Organization, owned solely by him, claimed to have a revenue of $9.5 billion back in 2016. However, a few media outlets made waves when they publicized that Trump's public filings point to a 2016 revenue that's closer to somewhere between $600 and $700 million. And this isn't even the first time that Trump's been caught inflating numbers. During the 2016 presidential election, Donald claimed to have a net worth of $10 billion, but both Forbes and Bloomberg didn't peg his worth at anywhere close to that. They estimated $4.5 billion and $2.9 billion, respectively. In October 2018, Forbes estimated Trump's net worth to be at $3.1 billion. Before we get to the spending bit, let's talk a little bit more about his revered entertainment career. When a TV producer first pitched The Apprentice to him back in the early 2000s, Trump was not super eager to jump on board. He wasn't a fan of reality TV shows and believed that the genre was reserved for the bottom feeders of society. While the world already knew of Trump at this point in time, the producer argued that it would give Trump the chance to show everyone a different side of him. Donald finally gave in to the idea, and "you're fired" became a famous catchphrase known all over the world. Premiering in 2004 on NBC, Trump hosted the first 14 seasons of the show, stepping down only after declaring his candidacy for president. According to a 92-page financial disclosure released by Trump in 2015, he reportedly made more than $213 million as the host of the reality TV show. While that might seem like a high salary, the business mogul had a high stake in the program, which definitely boosted his pay. Many people even strongly believe that Trump's presidential win was all thanks to his time on the show. Now, we know that the rise of the Trump empire isn't a simple straight line, but that's the gist of it. While his stint as a reality TV host might have enticed fans of the show to vote for him during the presidential election, his billionaire status was also something that many people took into account. According to campaign finance disclosures released in 2016, Trump used $66 million of his own money for his presidential campaign, though he did boast that he was going to spend $100 million. We can only imagine that he's patting himself on the back now for having such a great return on this investment. With the help of funds from private donors, Trump's biggest campaign expense ended up being the $192 million that he spent on traditional, digital, and online advertising. His second largest expense was reportedly air travel, an area in which he spent roughly $26 million on. Though that seems outrageous, we can only imagine that he saved a bit on traveling by using his own private jet. In fact, Trump has a fleet of personal aircrafts, including a commercial-sized plane, 3 helicopters, and a corporate jet. The largest one is his Boeing 757, which he is believed to have bought for $100 million back in 2010. His Cessna jet was reportedly purchased for $15.3 million. The 3 Sikorsky helicopters that he owns were probably bought for somewhere between $5 million and $7 million each. Since the Boeing 757 was pretty outdated, he completely renovated the interior of it, adding in a bedroom and 24-karat gold fixtures. According to the New York Times, the 757 is a gas guzzler that costs thousands of dollars every hour it's in flight. But now that Trump is POTUS, he can just use Air Force One instead. Judging by how much he spent on his private fleet, you can bet that his residences are just as luxurious. The president, of course, lives in the White House now, but that doesn't mean that he sold all of his other properties. That famous Fifth Avenue Trump Tower that we spoke about earlier? Trump owns a 3-story penthouse on the top 3 floors that's fit for a king. Designed by Angelo Donghia, the place boasts marble floors and walls and gold-trimmed furniture. It also has crystal chandeliers and frescoed ceilings throughout. The place is reportedly worth somewhere between $64 and $100 million. While Donald Trump claims the unit is 33,000 square feet, Forbes found the entire penthouse to be roughly 11,000 square feet. It looks like Trump owns a Beverly Hills home on Rodeo Drive that he barely ever uses. With 5 bedrooms and an enviable zip code, the POTUS is rumored to have paid $7 million in cash for the property back in 2007. You can bet that wherever he's staying, Trump keeps his closets full of fashionable outfits. It would be odd to see the POTUS in anything other than a power suit, and his favorite brand of suits doesn't come cheap. Known to wear Italian-made Brioni suits, these bad boys retail for between $5,000 and $7,000 each. According to the company, Trump has been a paying customer for years, and all of his suits are bespoke. Clearly, you need to have a lot of money to elevate your tastes all the way up to Trump's level. His wife, Melania, also has expensive tastes, and she was once spotted wearing a $51,500 3D floral Dolce & Gabbana jacket while sightseeing in Sicily. While the Trumps were in Sicily for a very good reason, the G7 summit, they do seem to love traveling for fun. In fact, the Trumps' personal traveling has been viewed as controversial to some. According to an NBC tracker, throughout his first 719 days in office, Trump spent 218 days at Trump properties and 166 days at golf properties. The majority of these days were spent at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida. It is rumored to cost taxpayers anywhere between $1 and $3.6 million, depending on who you ask, every time he visits Mar-a-Lago for a little getaway. Trump also likes to visit his private golf club in New Jersey. He really does like to golf a lot. During 12 golf trips made in 2017, USA Today reported that $60,000 alone was spent on golf carts for the Secret Service agents who had to accompany the president on the golf course. Even Eric and Donald Trump Jr., and all of his children for that matter, have the luxury of being protected by the Secret Service agents. According to CBS News, the cost of protecting Trump's two sons surpassed $190,000 by the end of his third month in office. While Trump didn't pay this fee or any of these fees directly, American taxpayers certainly did. That's all for This Is How Donald Trump Spends His Billions. Which of his spending habits surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.